First, I used a white eyeliner pencil to outline the armor and the muscle fibers. This gives you an idea of where everything will be placed, as well as where to apply each face paint color. It's best to look at a picture of Armored Titan while trying to face paint him. It's nice to have something to reference. I referenced 3 different pictures of Armored Titan to create my own version of him, so it's still very much so like the anime version of him, but it's a little bit more like, I guess, true to life. My muscle fibers aren't going to be perfect like a human's muscle fibers are, because in like Attack on Titan, nobody, not Colossal Titan, female Titan, none of their muscle fibers are true to life to like a human's muscle fibers. So if you want to paint Armored Titan to look the way he does in the anime, this tutorial will still be helpful for you. It's just you have to do things a little bit differently. So once I'm done outlining everything, I start painting the armored parts using Diamond FX metallic silver paint. I'm using Major Look by Lex brushes to paint these areas. These brushes are awesome for painting large areas. I'm using her eyeshadow and foundation brushes. And the reason I say they're awesome is like if I'm using like a cheap brush, when I start painting these areas, it's very streaky, even if I'm using a little bit of water. So that's why I really do like these brushes, or brushes that are similar to it. Sometimes metallic face paints can be really hard to work with, so you want to make sure you're moving your brush in all different directions, like diagonally, up and down, to try to get rid of the blotchiness that happens sometimes where it's just not like full coverage, it's just kind of like blotchy in some area. So to try to, fight that as much as you can, you just got to move your brushes in a bunch of like different directions. Remember, you do not have to paint your body if you do not want to. You can wear like a silver shirt or something, but I wanted to just to give it that awesome effect. So after that, I use Mehron's red face paint as the base color for my muscle fibers. Now, like I said, the Titans do not have muscle fibers that look exactly like a human. So humans, their muscle fibers have like a reddish, pinkish tone to it. What I'm doing right now is just like a flat out kind of red color. So if you want your Titan to have more realistic muscle fibers, I say you can go with like a pink type of face paint. It's just you got to make sure it's the perfect pink, because if it's too pink, it's just not going to look right. Now, I prefer to apply like the color face paints before I apply any black face paint, because it's easier to mix black face paint in with different colors than it is to turn like a black spot red, because once it just mixes together, it's too dark. Black is really hard to work with, so it's easier to paint all the base colors first and then go back with the black face paint. If you're wondering about the other brushes I'm using, well, they are craft store brushes I got from Michael's Craft Store and Walmart. The ones I'm using right now can be found in the children's crafting section of Michael's, and they're really, really affordable. And then the blue ones you're about to see me use in a few seconds are gold Taklon brushes that I bought from Walmart. And the brand for both of them is Royal Lang Nickel. Now I'm going to start painting on the muscle fibers, and I'm using Ivory from Wolfe. In my opinion, it's more like a tan color, and that's what you want to use. You want to use a tan color that you're going to paint some of the muscle fibers with, and then you're going to mix that color with the red face paint and some pink face paint to create other muscle fibers that are those colors. You don't want them all to be just that tan color, because it doesn't look as cool or realistic. And remember, Titans aren't anatomically correct to a human's muscle fiber like anatomy, because a human's muscle fibers, like, it goes in a bunch of different directions, but the Titans, they really just go up and down their muscle fibers. The only places on my face paint, the only areas where I didn't just go up and down, was the bridge of the nose and right under the eyes, but everywhere else I just kind of went up and down. But I kept just going back and forth with different paint brushes. I'm ambidextrous, so that basically means I use both of my hands to write, and I use both of my hands to do a lot of things, where other people they'll just be like left-handed or right-handed. So you might see me using like both at once. And on those paint brushes, I'm using the ivory color and then one that's like mixed with red and the ivory color. So that's what you want to do. You don't have to use both of your hands, but what I'm saying is you're going to have to keep going back and forth, switching between the colors. A simpler way of actually painting the muscle fibers is just using white face paint to paint them on, and then you can shade with black face paint or black eyeshadow. I decided not to do that just because in my colossal tie-in tutorial and my female tie-in tutorial, those are the colors I used. So I wanted this one to be a little bit different and be a little bit more similar to the color of a human's, true muscle fiber color, not just red and white. Now it's time to shade the look. Use a black eyeshadow to shade around the armor and blend out the eyeshadow onto the armor and into the muscle areas. Make sure the eyeshadow is fading out when you're blending it onto the armor and the muscle fibers. You don't want there to be a harsh line there. You just want the harsh line mainly to be right where the edge of, the armor is. Use the black eyeshadow to shade around the eyes. I had to fix this later on when I painted on the eyes, and you're also going to use that black eyeshadow to draw on the mouth, and it looks better using the black eyeshadow to draw on the mouth than it is just using the black face paint because it adds more depth this way with the eyeshadow. Then you can go back with the black face paint and use it to define certain areas of the armor and mouth, and this is what's going to add a lot of depth and just kind of make it look like it's popping out. I'll tell you the most important parts to shade is right under the mask. You got to make sure you shade that area really nicely and just kind of blend out the black eyeshadow into the muscle fibers, and then also in all the areas that are around your neck and your shoulders. It's very important you shade those areas and make it look like there's a lot of depth over there. The black eyeshadow I'm using is from my NYX Wild Dreams palette, and it's just a black eyeshadow inside of there, and it's really, really black, and that's why I like using it. You can also use the eyeshadow to add a little bit more detailing on the mask. I'm calling the armored part a mask just because that's what it kind of looks like, and it's easier for you guys to understand. So yeah, I just use it to add a little bit more detail and shading right on top of the mask, so near my forehead and on my cheekbones and around my collarbone and the neck. After you've shaded, you can go back with the black face paint and then use that to define just some of the areas. You don't want to use the black face paint to outline every single area that you shaded. You just want to use it in certain areas, especially around the mouth, because it's going to make it just look a little bit, these areas look like they're popping out, okay? So it doesn't look so flat on the skin. So around the mouth area, you use the black face paint just to shade a little bit. Just a very, very little bit like you see me doing right now, and you can see just how much more depth it adds to that area. So to paint the eyes, what I did was I used the black face paint to outline them, and then I used green and a little bit of yellow face paint to paint what would be the whites of a human's eyes, and then I mix yellow with a little bit of green face paint to paint the iris. Use the white face paint to highlight areas near some of the shading that you did. So I did it right by my cheekbone, mainly around the lines on the mask and a little bit around the mouth. You don't want to highlight everywhere because it's just going to be too much. And you also want to highlight around the spots on the body, so around the collarbone and the neck. For a complete list of products used, look in the description box below. I'll have it all listed there. So if you don't like the finish of your metallic face paint, you can go back with a very shimmery sheer face paint, a white one or a silver one, and use that over the face paint to make it shine a little bit more, look a little bit more metallic-y. So yeah, I used a little bit of silver just in certain areas, and it also helps highlight. And then for the hair, I ended up applying face paint there, not a lot, just a little bit so it would blend in with the skin. And that's it, you're finished. If you liked the tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you check out my other tied-in tutorials. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, bye.